Hello, everyone. This is Eric with Chris at potstocks.com. We're here with your weekly cannabis news update, stock information, and general informative webcast. As a disclaimer, nothing in this broadcast is intended to be an endorsement for stock trading. If you're interested in getting into the markets yourself, please consult a licensed financial advisor before doing so. Getting started today, we're going to tip off with New York has become the 23rd state to adopt medical marijuana legalization. That is a little bit of old news. And companies have until July 5th to submit their applications for licensure in the state. The original deadline was May 15th. The State Department of Health has extended the deadline by quite a large amount because of the amount of questions they've had to handle from applicants. Some notes on the subject. The applicants need a $10,000 non-refundable application fee, and the state is currently absolutely flooded with applications. Chris, what's your take here?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, it's more than the 10,000. It's
they need 210 total, and they get 200 back.
So it's really prohibitive for a lot of companies, and that's that is what it is. I mean, that's kind of the price of playing the game with some of these states right now.
Agreed.
And there are a couple public companies that are involved. I know there in that article there, Derek Peterson with TerraTech basically was like, we were really thinking about it, but they backed off the idea. And I think that's actually a good move for TerraTech, because we've already talked about them. We think that they're spread a little bit too thin, and we kind of want to see more revenue from their current operations. So I think that's a good move for TerraTech. It's a shame that they won't be able to get involved in the New York market right away, but it's also not going away. So maybe next year or something.
Yeah, the other thing about it, and I don't believe it was in up front on the news article, but I do remember from a previous newscast that we did and some other articles I've read, if I remember correctly, they're only accepting, I think, 10 maybe of the applications for the first year.
It's a super small amount. Yeah, I almost want to say it was 5, but it's in the article.
It may have been, yeah. But one way or the other, it's they're flooded with applications, and they're getting a ton of income revenue from that. The state is, and they're just going to be releasing a few. I believe the expectation is for them to systematically release more over time, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Yeah. So moving forward, we have Alternative Fuels America Incorporated, AFAI, has released their financial data. Chris, go over that a little bit with us and what you think there, and just give us some of the numbers.
Yeah, so some background on AFAI. They're going to be changing their ticker symbol to Kaya soon, Kaya, and that's because they own the Kaya Shack in Oregon, which is basically a small chain of dispensaries. And they're hoping to, be a major player in the Oregon market as that opens up. So that's going to end up being Kaya. In terms of their financials, there's definitely concern about the revenue growth, but the recreational market doesn't really open up till 2016. So underperformance right now, I don't think is an indicator of where the stock could be in a year and 2 years. But right now they do have some real money flow problems. But I think they'll be operating in a different environment soon. So, it could be an opportunity for people that are looking for a long-term investment in Oregon, but it is still a pot penny stock. And, there's always the same concerns that come along with that. Yeah,
same stuff with volatility. And to your point about not necessarily denoting that any behavior now, what it could mean in a year, that really is true, because you never know with the swings. That could be a week-to-week thing, a month-to-month thing, year-to-year thing. There's a lot of time left in between that to keep your eye on it. So,
yep.
So plenty there. In the same vein, we have Two Rivers Water and Farming, TURV, has set an ex-dividend date with GrowCo share distribution. Sorry about that. 10 million shares of GrowCo are being distributed to shareholders of record in Two Rivers stock over 4 ex-dividend dates. So they're going to be moving 2.5 million shares at a time, basically from one to existing shareholders. Is how that will work. So, Chris, give us a little bit of a background on what exactly the ex-dividend means for the company and what these two are doing.
Yeah, so any company that's giving out dividends, that's good for shareholders because they don't have to. It's basically a decision that the board of directors will make that says, hey, we want to reward our investors for sticking with us. So an ex-dividend date is basically just the date that if you own stock in that company by that date, then you will receive a dividend based on how much you own. So I think the one that's upcoming is July 1st. So if you own TURV stock on July 1st, you'll get a piece of that 2.5 million stock payout. So, let's see, currently the share price, it's leveled out right now at about 88 cents. You can expect, typically there's a dip after the dividend's paid out because a lot of traders will rush in, get the dividend and then bounce. And that's fine. But it's not a bad thing for investors. And I think it's a really good sign for that company. I've been watching TURV for a while, and I think they're going to be one of the ones that are around for quite a while.
Yep. I agree fully. I unfortunately don't have anything intuitive to say on that matter because we're exactly in the same vein. So moving forward, we have pretty benchmark information here for you. Massroots has crossed the 500 business mark on its social network platform since launching the platform in early March. Massroots has 174 of the 510 operating dispensaries in Colorado, 34.1% of that specific business using its network right now. They're expanding their reach and increasing their visibility greatly. Chris, give us a little bit more information on exactly what Massroots does and what this means.
Yeah, so Massroots, we've talked about them a few other times, but they're basically a niche social network that they're trying to capture the cannabis user into a social network that doesn't necessarily have their grandma on it like Facebook does. So it's all about just sending in pictures of what pot you're smoking or whatever. And currently they have over 500 businesses on there, which is pretty good. And I'm not sure how many users now. It's like 500,000 or something like that. Which is great. It's the biggest one in the industry right now. I'm still skeptical of niche social networks as a revenue model, but if there's a good hope for it, I think it's Massroots. So, and I mean, they're just building a really robust network, and they have really smart management working for them. And we got to meet some of those guys at the Marijuana Investor Summit, actually. Yep. So I'm super curious how they can kind of capture that business presence and translate it moving forward. But so congrats to them. It's good news. And actually, this week, if you log in over the next couple of days, we'll have Duchess Capital provided us with it's their Massroots investment thesis. It kind of outlines their whole business model and why investors might be interested in it. It's similar to the one we posted last year about AMMJ, American Medical Cannabis Company. So we'll post that later this evening. And thanks to Doug Layton for that one.
And even just with Massroots in and of itself, it's such a powerful tool for the industry in general. The amount of users that they have, the amount of businesses that they've got, it's really increasing visibility. It's making people more aware of what it actually is, and starting to, I really think, to rub out the outdated view that a lot of Americans have of the user and the business aspect of it as well, which is something that in my opinion, is a huge aspect. So profitability aside, they're doing really great things for the industry as a whole, and that information and the congregation of people at some point will be super useful.
If you're a business, also if you're a business to consumer business that you're selling a product that's meant for cannabis users, you need to be on Massroots. They have really good engagement. We're on there, and I'm sure a bunch of them are not terribly interested in the stock market, but they still really engage with the posts, and we get a lot of visits. And if you're something like like GrooveTube, and you have an actual product to sell a cannabis user, man, that's mad money. So get on there.
It is like any other social network, an absolutely incredible way to get your name out there. So, all right, moving on. Oregon has continued to move forward with strict medical marijuana legalization. Oregon producers and dispensers face a myriad of regulations under their legalization bill that has made it to the Senate floor already. Some of the requirements for your information are as follows. Medical programs require seed-to-sale tracking. Caveat there, I personally think that's kind of the way that the industry is going to be moving anyway. I don't know that is necessarily a bad thing or that it is overly restrictive, but it is something that everybody's going to have to do. They are limiting the size of cannabis crops and allowing individual municipalities to ban dispensaries and medical marijuana processors of their own accord, which that one particularly to me is quite interesting. So, Chris, let's dive into this topic. What do you think?
Yeah, so in terms of the restrictive medical legislation, I mean, I know a lot of patients and medical advocates get really upset about that. But if you want a functional recreational market, that's kind of the price to pay. You have to level the playing field, and that's what Oregon's doing. I think they're doing a good job of learning from the mistakes that Washington made. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're operating a recreational shop or a grow, and you have to operate under stricter laws than the medical grow or the medical shop down the street, then it's kind of a recipe for failure. So I know there's going to be some pushback from it, but I think it's at the end of the day going to be a positive thing.
It is also making it more, by making it more restrictive as a process. It is making the product better. It's making it safer for consumers. So it's not necessarily the worst thing that you have restrictions on where it can come from and how to get it to sale and to make sure that it's trackable. And to be honest with you, I think on the outset, when you read it, that allowing individual municipalities to ban dispensaries and medical marijuana processors, it sounds harsh, but it really isn't any difficult than a city not wanting particular restaurants or bars or types of bars to go in to their area because they have an idea of what they want their city to be, and that's just how the way that the country works.
Yeah, it's the same argument for state legalization of marijuana. If a state says, hey, we think this is okay, and the federal government will back off that, then there's no reason that the state should mandate that a certain city has to have a certain product in it or something like that.
Yep. And if they don't want it at all, then
and I think there's probably an argument to be made on the medical side for having it available for patients in a certain radius. But
but we'll have to see how that shakes out too.
Yeah.
So, okay, rounding on our news this week is the major news story itself. The New York Times has publicly come out in support of ending marijuana prohibition. The New York Times editorial board wrote a piece, debuted, I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago.
That was just yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday, that detailed their belief that marijuana prohibition should end. Chris, what do you think this means for the industry as a whole?
Man, having the New York Times come out a full stop against marijuana prohibition is it's really good news. It's a milestone in how far the movement has come. So basically what the New York Times is going to do over the next few weeks, they're going to push out a series of articles and editorials that kind of explore how legalization works and impacts on the economy and law enforcement and all that. So I don't know in terms of stock trading that it's going to be a huge catalyst, but it's more coverage and it certainly won't hurt. The more the merrier.
Well, and as we start to move into more, I don't want to say well-respected, but you're looking at old.
Yeah, no, it is. The New York Times is one of the most respected publications in the country.
It is, and it's old. And it has a lot of history. So you're looking at a lot of people that have been around for a long time that are backing it. And I think an important part too is it's not some guy that just wrote his opinion piece on the issue. It was the entire editorial board that got together to back this up. So
and that's the thing. They talked about it and they have an intellectual discussion, try to figure out what the best policy is amongst them, and then they came to the conclusion. It's legalization, full stop. So.
Yep. Well, that is your cannabis news update for this week. I am Eric. That is Chris with potstocks.com. Please head over to our website. Check out the web forums. Generate some discussion threads on the news that you've heard today. Check out all of our other videos on YouTube. And stay in the green, everybody. Have a great day.